Alright, welcome back to another episode of Kira Kira Curtain Call. In the previous episode, unfortunately, some of the Happy Cyclomania members have started to look for another member who could sing, mainly because the only one who did the vocals decided that he wants to focus on something else that he could actually get better, and because he thought that his vocals are not as much good. So they did that. A lot of auditioners? Is that a word? Wait, I don't think that's a word. The people who auditioned for them, well, most of them were not to their liking. Even though some of them had the talent, they were a little bit too weird, unfortunately. Up until one person completely biased came in and stole the show. And that person is Zaki, who desperately wants to come back to the band she once was. Initially more common, some other people declined and told her to just continue what she was doing after she left Happy Cyclomania. But she kept on resisting, and eventually she has a part-time job with the Happy Cyclomania. So in other words, she's technically back in their band. She's gonna be their vocalist again, but not all the time. She's still gotta do some professional work. The professional stuff with the music that she does is gonna be the main thing. So, yeah, hence the part-time thing. Besides that, Monk did couldn't go through the footage because I cannot remember the name. Shoki is also apparently back in the band. I don't know why or how. Maybe there was a little explained, but he's back with the super rockin' words, just like Aki is. And they were listening to a composed song that Kazu came in, and they really liked it, and they're gonna make some adjustments to make it their original. I hope we get to hear it, and it's not going to be skipped. The 5th anniversary concert. And besides that, completely out of nowhere, although understandably, Yuka wanted to meet Sosa and talked about Yuki a lot, and eventually, throughout all the talks he had, Soda called up Yuki and let her know that he was doing a concert and that he was at the desert. And hopefully after that concert he actually gently dogged got in a relationship. Christ. I hope they do. And if they don't, then he's gonna be the same. I love it. Fuck him. Christ. He has a lady that loves him, and he loves her back. But he shuns her for absolutely no good reason. So I hope this time things work out properly for them. Anyways, we'll continue on with the visual now. How about that? That day, Kazuki was wide awake when he woke up. He looked outside his window at a blindingly bright blue sky.
兄さん、目が覚めた？
うん。今日はそうちゃんのライブの日だもんね。
Today, Kazuki was heading out, so they had invited him to come see them perform.
楽しみだね。兄さんの曲、完璧に仕上がったってソータさん言ってたよ。
I would generally hope this visual novel decides not to skip it, to show it. In a musical way, obviously. So I came to visit him yesterday. He was very excited, and Kazuki could tell that everything was going smoothly.
楽しみだな。
I mean, I know that I'm not gonna understand Japanese, but the emotion from it and the way the music sounds, that's what I want to hear the most, honestly. Kazuki couldn't wait to see what kind of performance Sota and the airs would put out for him. Thankfully, it's not gonna be involving any combustion, which speaking of, Sota suggested something like that. The air members, and they said, "Are you trying to kill people?" So yeah. If you're still gonna do it, even though everyone said no, then it's one crazy motherfucker. Be prepared for that, Kazu. It had been a long time since he heard everyone perform.
ソータさん、兄さんもステージに上がらないかって言ってたけど。
Sota had honestly asked that. Kazuki turned him down, of course, but that didn't change the fact that he wanted to play with them.
ハーモニカぐらいだったら吹けたかな。
兄さん、無理しないでよね。
わかってる。冗談。
Kazuki's condition wasn't good or bad. His illness was progressing about the same as they had predicted. He had prepared himself for it, but it was still hard on him. However, he had so many things he wanted to do right now that he didn't have time to worry. He felt like his time was far more occupied now than it was when he could still move his body. He held some regrets towards idly letting that time pass by without a second thought, but he knew that thinking about it now wouldn't change anything. He never knew how irreplaceable every second of every minute, every day was until he ended up like this. If he had never come down with his illness, then he probably would have realized that. Kazuki really thought that he was fortunate to understand that now at least.
マミ、ノート取ってくれる？
His composition notebook was always at arm's reach. Mommy grabbed the notebook and flipped open the pages.
どうぞ。
ね。
Melodies were always flowing through his head. The illness had certainly taken a lot of freedom away from him, but he felt like he had gained many melodies in exchange. Since he no longer had to move his arms or legs, his mind was free to work on other things. That's why he was alright. Even if he couldn't move a single finger, even if he couldn't speak, so long as the melody still came to his mind, he would continue to compose. Music was now his vocabulary. It was his life. It was proof that he was alive. So long as he had music, he was alive.
じゃあ、行くよ。
Kazuki began to hum the melody in his mind. That melody soared high and spread throughout the crisp, clear summer sky. The guys were riding to the train station. It was Sota, Akihira, and Shoki.
なんで起きないんだよ。そうちゃんこそグースが寝てたじゃんか。
俺は何度も起こしたぞ。
The three of them had been practicing until dawn at Shoki's temple for 3 hours set, so just the three of them. Huh. I mean, Kazuki is also there in spirit, but Shoki was the only one to wake up early and try to wake the others. But they both stubbornly refused to get up. They both said they were dreaming that their concert was a huge success.
いい夢だったな。すげえ数の女たちにもみくちゃにされてさ。そんなもん何がいい夢だ。今日はこれから夢みたいなステージが待ってるんじゃんか。
This was the first time he had ever anxiously awaited going on stage. He was itching to go out there in front of the audience and start singing. He wanted to let as many people as he could hear their performance, hear Kazuki's song. He was so excited about being able to let them hear it.
夢みたいなステージ。
いいなそれ。
Their eyes were sparkling. They were always as bright as the eyes of children up to the playground.
よし、早く行こうぜ。今度こそ一番乗りだ。
じゃあ、行ってくる。
For once, Yuka was actually seeing her brother off as he left. Wow. It had been a long time since a private performance. Yuko was being a little thoughtful.
はい。
Wow. Yuko had she could not get his best.
大丈夫？ちゃんと練習したの？久しぶりなんだからだいぶ腕もなまってるんじゃないの？
まあなんとかなるさ。ここまで来たらなるようにしかならないんだし。
You recall the time Donaya suggested he hold a guerrilla concert? He was nervous, but he also felt defiant.
しかしライブなんてもう二度とあるとは思わなかったな。
Oh, yeah,
今か
that
ら
time.
もう緊張してるよ。
Does he mean that time? In front of Amal? But Donaya and his dad made the bet about their performance? Good time.
そうだ、優子が変わってくんない？
That's
もうお前の方がベースうまいだろ
いやよ。私あんなすごいメンバーと一緒にステージに上がれないもん。
Yuka may have been the president of the second literature club, and certainly had her own share of courage. But she still hesitated to play with the members going on stage today. He was surprised she had such a decent attitude.
珍しく殊勝なこと言いやがって。ま、久しぶりのライブだし、せいぜい楽しんでくるさ。
He shouldered his bass, tied his shoestrings, and then he felt ready to go. It felt nice. He was excited.
じゃあ行ってくるよ。
いってらっしゃい。また会場でね。
Yuka was in high spirits today too. She was looking forward to today's event as a chance to enjoy a concert for the audience for once.
まあ無理に見に来なくていいんだけどさ。
何勘違いしてるの？お兄ちゃんだけを見に行くんじゃないよ。ひらりちゃんも出るし、友達も出るんだからね。お兄ちゃんはついでだよ。ついで。
Sorry, it was a little bit. That's Brio, yeah, I always forget things. But did she call him a ninja before her? That's what I was sitting and thinking about. His sister gave him a bit of a cold shoulder? Maybe that was the real reason she was coming down?
まあその方が都合がいいや。
Shikanatsuki acted tough. When she said that to him, his rebellious spirit began rising up. His funk cell was coming back to life. Then his dignity as the older brother lit a flame to the fighting spirit sleeping inside of him.
まあ来るならしっかりステージを見てることだな。帰る頃にはお前はもうちょっと俺に敬意を払うようになってるはずだぜ。
I don't think she will.
兄の素晴らしくかっこいい姿を見ることになるわけだからな。
期待しないでおくわよ。
Yuka wore a challenging grin. Shikanatsuki was getting even more fired up. He was going to prove to his sister just how cool her brother was. Shikanatsuki's heart was finally racing with excitement for his performance.
シカ君！
She's wearing JoJo Bizarre's Adventure outfit again. There was a strange girl jumping up and down at this train station. Wow, I didn't know he bought a whole ass train station. He knew it was karate at first glance. She was about, I guess, found out that she's not her outfit, given that, if I think about it, their draft versus DGB original novel technically is 5 or more years later from this. So she was really bouncing too. Also, she was just like a puppy jumping up and down as it wagged its tail.
シカ君！シカ君！
She was gathering attention from everyone around her. She was a celebrity, so Shikanatsuki was worried if it was alright for her to stand out so much.
おい、目立ちすぎだぞ。
だってシカ君のこと見つけたら嬉しくなっちゃったんだもん。
That made him so happy. But Shikanatsuki was still worried about the attention on them. Kirari didn't seem to care at all, so he had to pay heed for her.
シカ君は私に会っても嬉しくないの？
そんなことは言ってないだろう。だけど TPO ってものがだな。
また難しいこと言ってごまかそうとしてる。
え、難しいことなんて言ってないよね。
もういいよ。シカ君、私のことなんて嫌いなんだね。
Kirari was already angry at him. The minds of women.
そんなこと言ってないだろう。嫌いなわけないじゃんか。
じゃあ会長まで手つないでいっていい？
え、手を？
Huh? When Shikanatsuki had faltered that idea, Kirari gave him a sharp glare. Give me a moment. Sorry, I'm back.
嫌なんだ。シカ君、やっぱり私がいない間浮気してたんじゃ。
あ、してないしてない。なんでそうなるんだよ。わかったよ。手ぐらいいくらでもつなげばいいだろう。
The Negro desperately held out his hand. Kirari jumped at the chance and held it with her own.
ちょっと恥ずかしいね。
She was suddenly happy again. She was simple but fuzzy.
あ、ほら、早く行こ
As she watched the look they were getting, he pulled on Kirari's hand and started walking. However, as soon as she started walking, she stopped.
あれ？
She was looking up the sky. She was staring at the sky without moving.
う。何が見えるんだ？
He looked up at her, but all he saw was pure white clouds. Kirari turned to Shikanatsuki and pointed at the sky. Well, this cloud does look like a demon that has butterfly wings. Fair enough on looking up, I guess.
見てシカ君、雲がね、ソフトクリームそっくりの形してる。おいしそう。
Okay. Sure. The concert hall was still quiet and empty. There were no guests, not even the performers or the staff yet. Murakami waited alone in that quiet hall for everyone else to come. Ha, so alas. There were a lot of people he hadn't seen in a while coming. He felt like it was his duty to greet them all today. That's why he arrived before anyone else and waited for them to arrive.
こういうのもいいものだな。
Even though their concert was coming up, he felt oddly relaxed, like an odd sense of composure. Lately, he'd been down in the dumps and he felt like he had died once, but perhaps he had been reborn? Or perhaps this is what came at age? He felt like he was more confident than before. It was kind of like his feelings had developed a core. His feelings weren't as intense as he'd been when he was young, but the way he felt now wasn't bad either. No, maybe today was just special.
あ、村上君、早いね。
As she was lost in deep emotion, Shikanatsuki and Kirari finally arrived. They were both holding hands like a couple, so he looked at them questioningly. But they are a couple. Shikanatsuki noticed his stare and quickly released his hand.
俺、ちょっとトイレ行ってくる。
She felt bad about being spotted with her hands held as she showed up. Shikanatsuki fled from the hall. Kirari was left alone with Murakami.
鹿くんどうしちゃったんだろう。
Kirari couldn't understand the complex subtleties between men. Shikanatsuki had his hands full with her. Murakami thought it must be tough to go through love. That mirror came to his mind, and he quickly tried to get thoughts of her away.
いやーしかしシーノはすごいな。向かうところ敵なし。大活躍じゃないか。
Murakami brushed away his cold sweat and forcefully changed the topic.
すごいって何が？
海外でも大評判だったんだろう。俺たちの中じゃ一番の出世頭じゃないか。
Murakami was honestly giving her a great compliment, but Kirari just tilted her head in confusion.
そうかな。全然そんなことないと思うよ。まったく人生はうまくいかない。まだ夢は遠いよ。
Murakami was shocked. It looked like everything was smooth sailing for Kirari, but she wasn't satisfied at all. Was she not really that greedy of a person? Maybe?
シーノの夢ってのは一体何なんだ？
He wondered if it was some huge dream. He wouldn't be surprised if Kirari said she wanted to take a trip on a space shuttle or become an oil tycoon.
あのね、私の夢はね、鹿くんのお嫁さんになってエプロンしてご飯を作って鹿くんがお仕事から帰ってくるのを待ってね。帰ってきたらご飯ですかお風呂ですかって聞くの。
お風呂？
それとも私って言った方が男の子は喜ぶかな。
そうだな。
じゃあそうしてみよう。また夢が増えたよ。
Kirari was in the best of moods. Murakami was just left behind.
シーノの夢っていうのはそれなのか？
子供の時からずっとそういうのが夢だったんだよ。
Kirari spoke proudly. Murakami's head spun. It sounded just like a preschooler's dream.
エプロンするんだ。それで子供ができてもね、お正月だけは二人っきりで温泉旅行するんだよ。おじいさんとおばあさんになってもずっとね。
そうか。うん。いい夢だな。
He did think it was nice. It was a nice dream, but he couldn't easily say so. Kirari had amazing talent and still held the ability to climb higher in the music industry. Was it really alright for her to settle for that dream?
でもまだ忙しくて当分先になりそう。鹿くんもなんだか忙しそうで寂しいな。
確かにいい夢だと思うんだが、歌とかは？
歌は楽しいよ。最高。
She asked it to him like it was nothing. Kirari never even thought about how to choose between the two. She was going to have both of them.
欲深いというかなんというか、シーノは全てを望むんだな。
当たり前だよ。私たちはね、何があっても絶対幸せになってやるんだから。どんな敵でもコンビプレイで絶対倒す。
Whenever he talked with Kirari, he lost the will to argue. But in exchange, it became more fun to talk. He already found himself smiling.
普通のやつなら無理だと思うだろうが、お前が言うと妙な説得力があるな。
でしょ
Shikanatsuka returned to the lab with Kirari. Shikonosuke was shaking his wet hands. He must have had a handkerchief on him.
鹿くんハンカチまた忘れたの？
Kirari skipped over to him like a puppy. She handed him her handkerchief. She looked very happy as she took care of Shikonosuke like that. It was probably part of Kirari's image of a young wife. That kind of thing was part of what Kirari considered happiness.
幸せか。
村さんも幸せのハンカチしてほしい？
He turned around to find Mira behind him. The conversation he had just had only added to Murakami's panic.
あ、すごい汗だよ。はい、ハンカチ。
すまん。
Mira's innocent handkerchief held a nice, sweet smell. A handkerchief of happiness. Murakami suddenly wondered why he was singing like that right before their secret concert. He quickly wiped the sweat away.
ねえ、村さん。
なんだ？
私、あの時村さんに見つけてもらって本当に良かったよ。
Mira spoke with a smile. She was talking about the night he first met.
どうした急に？
うん、急に言いたくなったの。今私すっごく楽しいから。今日のライブもすっごく楽しみ。
そうか。
実家からこっちに出てくるときは私バカで子供だったから何も考えてなくて、村さんに見つけてもらえなかったら全然違う人生だったかもしれないよね。
大げさだな。ミルは運がいいからきっと俺が見つけなくても大丈夫だったさ。
運がいいから村さんに会えたんだよ。
Wow, smooth. Mira was full of confidence. She felt a little bashful, but he was sincerely happy to hear it.
ねえ、村さんもワクワクしてる？
ああ、もちろんワクワクしてるさ。世の中にこんなにワクワクすることは他にない。
No, there is one thing. That's what he thought, but he decided not to say it. Today they had a concert.
今日はいいライブにしような。
うん、楽しもうね。
Mira didn't say, do our best. She said, have fun. To Mira, a good concert was a fun concert. Murakami determined to make it one of their most fun concerts ever. As he watched Mira smile, he felt his energy growing stronger. He was filling up with the desire to make their concert a huge success. The power of a smile is amazing. He thought that perhaps that he could continue playing music in order to make people smile like that. Back in the day, he had been playing in a band for himself. Well, he was still basically playing for himself, but he felt that the other reasons were more important now. He also thought that wasn't a bad thing either. That way of that gave him more motivation too.
じゃあ村さん、また後でね。
Mira dashed off. As time went by, the performers and staff began to arrive one after another. The hall was bustling with activity.
ちゃうちゃう、なんでストレートやねん。レモンって言うたやん。
Hagi was acting important and bossing around Amora and Akaji as Yashira scolded her. It was a nostalgic sight. Saturation was on the other side. Yagihara was ready to go, barking detailed orders at his band members and his staff. They were glowing as if T-birds surrounded by a golden aura. They were still well and good, even though they had retired once. Just watching them made Murakami's heart race. The man he had always admired was going to be performing on the same stage as he was. It still felt like a great dream. Shila's band members of gathered across from Star Generation! Shila had some guy with swearing at each other as they to their instruments. They were all heartwarming scenes.
なんだこれは
At that moment, he heard Shikanosuke scream. It was not the girl that the man screamed, but it was a scream nonetheless. What is going on? When he looked over to see what was going on, he saw Shikanosuke holding the Sheiju in his hand and crying as he yelled at the others.
どうしたのシカ君。
Oh wait, does he have to dress up again for this occasion?
どうしたもこうしたもないって見ろよ。出演者の欄。なんで俺の名前が
Yeah.
シカゴになってんだ
Okay, for a moment I thought something else happened, but nope. What's that name? Appeared in my eyesight. Yeah.
なんでシカ君女装して出るんだよ。
Yeah. Shikanosuke was terrified by her answer.
犯人はお前か。俺は女装なんてしないぞ。今日こそ俺は男らしい衣装でかっこいいベーシストとして優子にだってそう宣言してたな。あ、
でもなぜかこんなものがあるんだな。
For some reason, you say, Chiani pulled out a gorgeous-looking outfit. It looked like it was clothing meant for women, but the size was too big for a woman. It was a perfect size for Shikanosuke, though.
どうしてそんなの用意してるんだよ。そんな暇なかったはずなのにおかしいだろ
これじゃないと第二文芸部じゃないでしょ。
前島さん、もう観念しましょうよ。往生際が悪いですよ。ほら、せっかく衣装もあつらえたんですからね。
妹だって来るんだって。かっこいいところ見せるって約束したんだ。今日だけは勘弁してくれ。
そんなにだだこねないの。ほらシカ君行こう。私が着替えさせてあげるよ。
いやだ
Shikanosuke's opinion on the matter was to seem as rubbish and completely ignore him. Karate Chiani and Serena cornered them and dragged them up backstage.
あれが有名な第二文芸部バンドなんすか？なんかイメージ違うっすね。
Oh, don't worry. Shikanosuke's gonna dress into the right outfit. It's gonna be completely the right stuff, like you imagined. So instead, went watching a whole chain of events.
残念ながらあれがそうなんだ。まったく後進の夢を壊すなんてロックスター失格だな。
Murakami heard the sigh and sort of shrugged his shoulders in disappointment. He heard a little about Yuka's bravur, but he thought she was a normal bravur. He wondered where her bravur started going down the wrong path. Well, just choosing to be a best member is going down the wrong path anyways. He wondered where such an average businessman started going down the wrong path and getting involved with music.
なんだか懐かしいね。
Hey,
あの感じ。
Murakami was speechless at Tonia's sudden appearance. Tonya was never supposed to be there, but here he is.
殿や。
や、久しぶり。今日は僕も目いっぱい頑張るからよろしく。
He looks pretty cool without his glasses.
どうして殿やがここにいるんだ？
Tanya had been performing abroad, and he hadn't heard about him coming back to Japan.
お、着いたか。
Yagihara made his way over. He shook his hands with Tanya.
八木原さん、これは一体。
今日のサプライズだ。今日のライブのためにわざわざ戻ってきてもらったんだよ。
え、マジですか？
前もって連絡しようと思ったんだけど、八木さんが黙ってた方が面白いって言うから。ごめんね。
Tanaya apologized and Murakami realized he hadn't changed at all. Maybe Tanaya would never change with age.
それにしてもなんだか面白い人がいっぱい集まってるね。いい雰囲気だな。これってやっぱり村上くんの人徳なんだろうな。
Tanaya looked over to Hao, impressed. Murakami didn't quite understand what he meant by that, but he still felt bashful. He had just done one thing or another to live out his life.
俺の方がみんなにいつも助けられているんだ。おかげで今の俺がある。そういう気持ちも全て今日のライブにぶつけるつもりだ。
そっか。じゃあ今日はいいライブになりそうだね。
Tanaya understood Murakami's feelings well. While he had been away from Japan, Murakami had overcome several hurdles to stand on stage today.
今日はよろしく。じゃあ僕はちょっとライブハウスのオーナーに挨拶してくるよ。帰国の挨拶もまだなんだ。
Tanaya excused himself and left.
この矢は全然変わらないんだな。本当にあいつは大したもんだな。
Damn it. Yeah. Murakami muttered to himself as he watched Tanaya walk away. Tanaya had become a big star, but he didn't act like it at all. It almost made one worry about him.
今のってもしかしてケンタスか？
Soda had been watching from the sidelines. Even he couldn't hide his surprise at how normal the famous Tanaya Kenta seemed.
あれでステージに立ったら凄まじいぞ。
マジですか？
Soda's expression changed.
どうだ？おじけづいたか？
いや、逆っす。めちゃくちゃ燃えてきた。
Soda's eyes were blazing. He was as rash as always. Murakami had a bit of that tendency when he was young, but Soda's more prominent.
お前は本当に無鉄砲だな。
It was both Soda's strong point and his weak point.
なんすか？お説教っすか？
いや、そうじゃない。
Murakami had no intention of lecturing him. It did have something he felt he needed to see to Soda, though.
お前この前才能なんていらないって言ってたじゃないか。
I don't have any talent, but I don't need any. I feel sorry for those who can't do anything without their talent. He had said things like that.
それがなんすか？
でもお前は才能あると俺は思うぞ。
は
Soda was dumbfounded to hear him say something like that.
確かに音楽の才能はどうかと思うが、お前にもちゃんとすごい才能がある。そうたのは音楽の才能じゃなく太陽になる才能なんじゃないか。実際大したやつだよお前は。
Soda returned Murakami's audacious smile with a blank look before he started blushing.
何急に言ってるんすか？そんなおべっか言っても今日は手加減しないですからね。
そんなつもりはないが、手加減なんてしてもらわなくても今日は負けやしないさ。
True. Murakami was full of confidence. Soda got angry, but Murakami didn't lose his smile. They glared at each other for a while, but it was also fun. The festival was getting ready to start, and the festive mood filled the air.
そうちゃん、お客だぞ。
Gotta be Yuki. Akira's skull broke up their staring contest.
じゃあ俺ちょっと行ってきますから。
ああ、また後でな。
Just as he started to leave, Soda turned around. He looked at Murakami and smirked.
は、今日は俺たちが一番目立ちますから。じゃ。
With that said, he sharply dashed off.
そうだね。
いいな。若いのは威勢が良くて。
Yashiro had been watching their exchange. He smiled at Murakami.
若いってのはそれだけで才能ですから。
そんな余裕でいいのか？油断してると若い連中に食われちまうかもしれんぞ。
冗談でしょう。俺たちだってミスミスやられるような玉じゃないですよ。
そりゃそうだな。
They chatted for a while longer before Yashiro returned to their preparations. Murakami was alone again. Murakami was touched to see so many people busily working to set up for the concert.
は？村上どこ行くの？
いや、なんでもない。ちょっとタバコ吸ってくる。
Murakami couldn't raise his head as he escaped the hall.
こんにちは。
When he got outside, he found Yui waiting for him. She looked a little nervous. She hadn't thought that Sora would call her here.
何硬くなってるんだ。
だって急に電話とかくれるから。
It happened last night. Yui hadn't planned to come today our way, so there was no reason to panic. But Sota had invited her. Furthermore, he had something to tell her. Please, for the love of God.
話って何？
Yui was nervous because she had a suspicious idea of what he wanted to say. She looked at Sora with great hope, and so am I. Sora stared right back at her.
俺、何かを得るには何かを諦めなくちゃならないって思ってたんだよな。
It was a bit different from what she expected. However, she could tell that Sora was trying to tell her something important. Something that was also important to her. That's why Yui quietly urged him on.
とても大切なものならいくつもは手に入れられないって。この両手で持てるものには限りがあるだろう。そんなにたくさんのものを欲しがるなんて虫のいい話だって。だから何か大きなものをこの手に掴もうと思ったら他のものは捨てなくちゃってさ。そう思ってたんだ。けど何を得て何を捨てるかなんて俺が決めることじゃなかったのかもしれない。そんなのはすごく傲慢なことだったのかも。
Yes, you were.
って村上さんを見てて思ったんだ。
Sota smiled bashfully.
村上さん？
あの人たくさんの人と関わって助けたり助けられたりして生きてるんだよな。人と人とのつながりの中で生きてる。あの人の周りにいつもたくさん人がいるのはそういうつながりを大切にかどうかわかんないけど少なくともそういうものを拒んでこなかったってことだろ。
The same meant for him. He looked at Murakami as an enemy. Murakami readily accepted him. That night was scarred deep into Sora's heart.
来るものは拒まずって言うのか。それって結構しんどいことだと思う。うざいことだって多そうだし。だからあの人はノイローゼみたいになったんじゃないかな。
He had probably been trying to accept more than he could handle on his own.
でもそうやってしんどいことでも逃げずに受け入れて踏ん張ってきたから結局あの人はたくさんのものに助けられたんじゃないかな。
Sora thought it was all because that man never ran away and tried to properly respond to the feelings of each and every person.
何が言いたいの？
Sora was trying to convey something to her, but Yui couldn't tell what. She was growing impatient and had to ask him.
だからさ俺ももう逃げない。 手に入るかどうかはわからないけど、自分が大切だと思うものからは、自分のことを大切に思ってくれる人の思いから逃げないでいたいと思うんだ。
Soda's eyes were glued on Yui. She thought her heart was going to stop. Yui's heart was racing from the passion in his eyes.
それってどういうこと？諦めないって何を？
It's really growing, and I'm so proud of him. But I was sort of saying he wouldn't give up. She felt like she knew the answer, but she couldn't believe it if he didn't make it clear.
今日のステージよく見ておけよな。俺の気持ち今日の歌で伝えるから。
God damn it. Sora blushed as he awkwardly made his statement.
歌？
You wasn't expecting that word.
歌とかそんなんじゃなくて。
Yui tried to say it in a roundabout way, but Soda quickly turned his back to her.
いいか、絶対によく見ておけよな。
With that final line, Soda ran off.
本田くん行っちゃった。
The tension suddenly left her body. She felt like she'd just been given the slip.
気持ちなら今言えばいいのに。
Maybe he will also talk about them properly after the concert, or he's gonna run away again. For someone who kissed her out of the blue without asking how she felt twice, he was always too chicken when it counted.
ま、いっか。
True. He said he would convey his feelings, but she wondered what kind of performance it would be. She decided to wait with excitement. She only needed a little more patience. Hmm? He went out front and had a smoke, and he desired. He was filled with so much emotion that he was on the verge of tears. He appreciated everyone's feelings. He knew he had to give it all he had that night in order to respond to them. As he finally began to calm down, his eyes fell on the list of performers written on a sign. Psychomania. The original second literature club. Happy Psychomania. There was a young one mixed in there, but they were all prominent bands. It felt like a dream to have his own lined up besides theirs. He even felt like a fool for having considered quitting his band. Yet he knew that he wouldn't have been able to overcome that on his own. If it weren't for everyone gathered here today, he wouldn't be standing here. As he thought about that, he began to realize just how irreplaceable and precious today was to him.
今日もタバコがうまい。
Sure. He felt the smoke as it rose to the sky. It felt like sweat would have started dripping from his eyes if he hadn't. The sky was bright, clear, and sunny, just like a midsummer day should be. They had their rehearsal left to perform, and by the time their concert started, the sun would have set. Tonight was going to be a warm night without any sleep. She had an all-night festival. Tonight they were going to go as wild as she wanted.
ああ、こんなとこにおったんか。もうみんな準備できて待っとるで。
Murakami grabbed the corners of his eyes as he heard Aki. He turned to her like nothing had happened.
待ってるってなんだ？
ええから、はよ来てや。
Aki dragged him back inside, and Murakami's eyes first fell on a nostalgic side.
なんだよ。見るなよ。
Yank.
ほら、可愛い子ちゃんがそんな口の利き方しちゃダメ。
だって俺可愛い子ちゃんじゃないし。
In the end, Shigenatsuka was forced to put the outfit on, and it's kind of like the world had ended.
こりゃ驚いたな。シカ子ちゃんは年を取らないのか。
Shigenatsuka looked the same as he did that summer. He looked as if time had stopped that summer, waited for this day to arrive.
ほんとなんていうか
嫉妬したくなっちゃうぐらいですよね。
Kirari looked proud to receive Chi and Sadana's envious glances.
もういっそ殺してくれ。
おいおい、死ぬならステージで死んでくれ。面白いから。
Yagiyara laughed at his misery. Then he turned to Murakami with a pleasant smile.
リハーサルの前に今日の主役から挨拶をもらいたいんだ。
主役ですか？俺が？
他に誰がいるんだ？
He didn't feel like he was the main act. He looked back at his whole life, but he had never been the main act. Not even in his preschool arts festival. But he is technically, sort of, the main act. And that's fanless, so... It was always the back of a horse, a tree, or a wall. He couldn't believe that he was finally being called the main act.
ほうけとらんで。ほら。
Yashida pushed the mic towards Murakami. He had said it from him, but he couldn't think of anything for the main act to say. Murakami froze like a statue with a mic in his hand. Everyone kindly watched over Murakami without rushing him.
ねえほら村上くんあれは
Kirari recalled something and spoke up.
あれ？あれってなんだ？
昔聞いたんだけどね。なんだったっけな。ほら覚えてる？
She knew, but acted like she didn't. It was something she wanted to make Murakami say, but his mind was blank and he had no idea what she meant.
ほら一番最初に私たち村上くんに教わったじゃん。私は今でもねライブの前とかよく思い返すんだよ。
一番最初に？
村上くんはまだ思い出せない？大事にしてたのに本人が忘れちゃったとしたら悲しいな。忘れてるはずないですよ。ほらあれですよあれ。
Sarina encouraged him as well, but it only made Murakami more anxious.
はいはい村上先生はい私わかりました。
What got into her? Murakami was possessed.
もうみんな思い出したってのに、お前はまだ気づかないのか？
Shikanatsuka was amazed.
じゃ、俺が代わりに。はい、イスルギくん。
He called on Chini and she nodded with a grin.
村上先生ロックってつまり何なんですか？
With that line, Murakami finally remembered and turned to Mayakan.
そうかそうか、そのことか。バカだな。俺が忘れるわけないじゃないか。
Murakami finally remembered those words. No, maybe remember isn't the right word. Those words had always been inside of his heart. He just hadn't realized that they were talking about that.
そうだよね。村上くんが忘れるわけないよね。
Kirari smiled happily. Everyone else was smiling with her. Why were they all smiling like such innocent children? Smiles like those don't fit punk rock at all. Yoing. That's what Murakami thought, but he wore the same innocent smile himself. However, the only ones... the only ones getting excited were the original second literature club, Tanya and Murakami. The rest just had blank looks as he wondered what was going on.
そうだな。ここにいる多くの連中は知らないかもしれない。よし、じゃあ改めて教えてやろう。みんなよく聞けよ。
Murakami inserted the pause as he gathered everyone's attention. Then he spoke up with an air of haughtiness.
この世で一番素晴らしいロックンロール、その本当の正体はな。
Murakami wore a broad grin and sniffed. It was time to begin anew with those words. Murakami shouted as loud as he could.
熱いハートだ。
Yo, It's over? I should probably stop smiling. It could have hurt my face, but I can't help it. Rock and roll never die. I didn't expect for the main menu to actually see the song, and yeah, it's over, but I'll check that CG as the case. Oh yeah, the books failed with them. Anyways, it's over. We have finished the fan disc. Before I get to the types of the special novel, I'm just gonna say that I'm not gonna get into the sequel, which is airdrops so very soon. I think I'm gonna start something else off. Maybe Tsugihime, perhaps. Besides that, I was honestly not a huge fan of this fan disc. I liked the original better, and despite being shorter than the original game, I felt like this original had a lot more grammatical errors than its predecessor, which was surprising, honestly. And at some points, it was annoying, even though I did laugh at some of them. Although, speaking of disappointment, I'm disappointed that one of the original novels and them not having the translations of the songs, which would have been honestly nice. And I'm seeing that because some of the songs can honestly get into. Well, some of the songs I didn't exactly like, I suppose. So I would have rather seen the message through the lyrics, honestly. Besides that, well, sort of increasingly it was getting more annoying for me, as you guys saw, unfortunately. But it shows that he grew, so I guess I can forgive his annoying ass, I suppose. And when we get away from him, it was nice seeing how Murakami was doing and how his band was having issues and growth. It was also nice seeing the original Literature Club doing their own things, which is being a businessman, or a caretaker, or a business lady. It's nice seeing that they're holding up in life after the whole rag shenanigans they went through when they were back in school. It was also nice seeing that Shikanatsuki's sister also took up the mantle for the second literature club, and that's a performing as well. And it was also nice seeing her for her first time, and the way she looked fitted the shit she is saying as well. Anyways, I don't feel like talking anymore about this visual novel, so I'm gonna give this a score of 6.4 out of 10. It was a pretty solid visual novel. Could have been better, and the grammar could have been worked on better as well, honestly. So yeah, and other than that, I'll see you, and I don't know. You will see it when I upload, I guess.